Last time on Square Roots, we travel deep into the heart of Birth Valley and find a cat. Some people say there's a cat at the heart of my Birth Valley, but that's just misogynistic.
Hello and welcome to Square Roots, the RPG podcast. My name is Matthew Van Zant, and I'm joined this week by best friend of the whole world, John Bees, Brandon.
I'm very confused. What's going on here? Where's Jim?
Shh. And Vanessa.
I'm Vanessa.
That's delightful. And we are a podcast in which we play a classic RPG, one chunkarino at a time, and it's delightful. Our regular listeners might notice that something's weird today. What's going on, guys?
Well, I'm wearing a bathrobe over a sweater dress.
That's not unusual, though.
It's not unusual, and I also don't know how the listeners would have been able to tell. But they are very clever.
Yeah. We have some of the smartest listeners. And I'm not saying that to butter you all up.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, I am.
And the most attractive.
It's true.
And the coolest. Don't forget our whole bit.
Jim is on a business trip. He is getting business done. He is signing papers. He is telling people to reduce font sizes. He's looking at layouts and saying, no, move that there and that there. And he's like talking to people as they pass him in the halls and then like writing notes on their papers as he walks by them. Just like a real office.
Buy, sell.
He likes to tell people to put the flower vase that he gives them with the fresh flowers in the window and open the curtains during the day if he has a message for them. That didn't make a lot of sense, did it?
I think it's more likely that Jim would send an edible arrangement. That's kind of what's done these days. I've
never had an edible arrangement.
Does anybody eat them?
I would.
I ate it.
Was it good?
No.
Did it give you diarrhea?
No.
How is it not good?
It's just fruit on a stick.
Oh,
yeah.
I love fruit.
I mean, it was like, cantaloupe.
Oh, I love cantaloupe. Did it have honeydew?
Cantaloupe that's like not quite ripe enough, and you stick it on a stick, and it's in a weird cup, and I still have the cup.
I love honeydew, John. I think it's one of my favorite fruits.
Yeah, honeydew is amazing.
It really is.
I assume it's healthy.
I mean, none of that stuff's healthy. It's all pure sugar.
Yeah, you know what? It's better if you are eating that instead of like ho-hos. It's a step up.
That's a very good point. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this series, I guess, we've never really figured out what to call these. Seasons.
I don't like seasons, honestly.
I don't either.
I think series is better.
I do too, but the way the podcast app works now, none of that makes sense. But you know what? Screw you, Apple. You don't tell me what to do. So this time on Square Roots, we're playing Phantasy Star 4, the Jazz Hands, the End of the Millennium. And this is our second episode. If you did not listen to episode 1, this is going to be pretty confusing. But before we dive into that, guys, what do we got to do? Jim's not here. I don't remember what comes next. Squarely Against?
Up levels.
The show's over?
Up levels.
Thank you.
Meatloaf time?
Meatloaf.
Yes.
Vanessa, I didn't have a meatloaf tonight, but I had a lasagna.
Oh.
Is that meatloaf enough?
It's meatloaf adjacent. I would say that in Food Town, meatloaf and lasagna could cohabit pretty happily within the same cul-de-sac.
That makes sense. Now, this was homemade lasagna with tons of 3 pounds of cheese and a metric ton of Italian sausage. Does that change how meatloafy it is?
Who's home?
Meatloaf, no cheese.
Who's
curtains.
home?
Curtains made some lasagna.
Oh, Curtains. He hates Mondays.
Curtains have been playing Golf Story exclusively for an entire weekend. It's really weird.
Does Curtains like to play the game of golf in real life?
No. Nor does he play soccer or football, though, and he plays those games as well. So
I
this isn't...
did not care.
Okay. Anyway, before we dive into the quest log, guys, we do have a segment that we do every time, and we love to do. It's called our Level Up. Vanessa.
Yes.
How did you level up this week?
Oh, Matt. Matt. Dear sweet Matt. Matt,
Dear
Matty, Matt.
sweet boy.
I know I've talked a good game on this podcast about Caden Alenko, and I've talked about Seymour Guado, and I've talked about Karth Onassi, and there's probably a dozen or so other men I've talked about, but everyone knows that in life you have only one number one celebrity crush, and mine is, of course, Raul Esparza.
What? Who? John is looking very shrug emoji. Matthew is #confusted.
What?
Vanessa, explain.
What? Well, first of all, I want you all to open up your encyclopedia of Tony nominees and just look under 4-time every category available to an actor nominee, and you'll see a picture of Mr. Esparza there, looking just as pleased as, well, probably half as pleased as he could be. I mean, he was only a nominee. He didn't win, but eventually he will, and all will be right in the world anyway. I saw him in a staged performance of chess.
Siam is going to be the witness to the ultimate test in cerebral fitness.
That's exactly right, John. It also featured Ramin Carmilu and Karen Olivio. Yes, Matt.
Vanessa, I've not heard of this play. Would you
You've not heard of
please?
Chess?
I have not.
Notorious Broadway flop Chess?
Was it a flop?
It ran for 3 years in London and moved to Manhattan and lasted only 2 months. Lyrics by Tim Rice, famously the lyricist for Andrew Lloyd Webber, and music by a couple of the more male members of ABBA.
Interesting.
The version I saw, I think I claimed it was staged just a moment ago. I meant semi-staged, kind of a glorified reading. They're attempting to move it to Broadway. Really excellent cast. The show, they've tried to fix its problems. John is illustrating the breakout hit of the show, One Night in Bangkok, which you may know from the 80s.
You're saying this is like a revised version of the play?
Yes.
Interesting. And do you think it was... What did you think?
Well, as I mentioned before, it starred my number one celebrity crush, Raul Esparza.
Yes.
But he had a throat infection, Matt.
Oh, no.
I know. The poor suffering angel. He was sipping his tea the whole time, and he soldiered on through.
Oh, wow.
Just as good as he would be at full health, barring 1 or 2 little cracks of the voice, but he did his very best. It was difficult for me to watch because I just wanted to bundle him in a Snuggie and feed him honey by a spoon. But that would be inappropriate because he and I enjoy a very traditional celebrity fan relationship wherein I provide him with my money and he provides me with entertainment, and we both go home to our respective houses.
Yay!
Anyway, I enjoyed it very much. And Karen Olivio is the greatest star of all time ever. Hashtag Karen, hashtag diva, hashtag belt it, hashtag Karen. John, how did you level up?
I leveled up by watching the finale to the serial sci-fi adventure drama Star Trek Discovery.
Did you watch every single episode of Star Trek Discovery, or did you watch just the finale?
I've watched every single episode over the past few months.
So, I have heard a lot of negative things about the series, though early on it was mostly positive. John, would you review this season?
Okay. I would... What's our review? We don't really have a review scale, right?
Yeah, just pick your own.
Okay. Out of 5 Bam Bam Bigelows, I would give this 4 Bam Bam Bigelows.
Wow.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Maybe 4.5. I think it might be the best Star Trek show ever made.
Oh.
What?
Very good.
But you're a Next Generation guy. This is unprecedented. I have never seen a Next Generation fan decide that a later show was better.
I started with original series anyways. But I was very little.
Oh. Well, you turned me on to Next Generation.
Yeah, I love Next Gen. I like them both.
As chronicled in, what series was it that I was binging all of Star Trek The Next Generation and talking about it every
Oh, that was a
episode?
while. I don't even ask.
It was probably 9 because I don't remember you saying anything about it.
No, I think it
probably
was like around Kingdom Hearts, I would say.
Back when
Surely
we were-
it was not because I don't remember Matt ever mentioning Star Trek ever.
Okay. It could be.
Definitely potentially back when we were a He-Man Woman Haters Club.
Oh, no.
That's right.
I hope not.
Now, you may be saying to yourself, but Vanessa, you listened to every episode of 9. How could you not remember Matt talking about it? I don't remember most of the things Matt says.
It has maybe my favorite Star Trek protagonist. But it's not really about a crew this time, although it slowly becomes that way. But Michael Burnham is an awesome character. Just a really interesting character, very well played, really fun. You would think, because someone who was raised by Vulcans might seem a little boring, but she does have a personality and she does have a sense of humor. And there is the breakout characters of Cadet Tilly, who is a maybe autism spectrum lady. She's very, very socially awkward. She's super funny, and she makes the show amazing. And there is a gay couple who includes Wilson Cruz, who you might remember from My So-Called Life, who is fantastic.
Was he Brian, the curly-haired boy?
He played Ricky Vasquez on My So-Called Life.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
And he is very, very good in Star Trek Discovery.
Interesting.
It's the first gay couple on Star Trek, so it's I mean, other than the one shot of Sulu and his partner in one of the last Star Trek movies. But I don't know. It's just and even with that, it goes in so many crazy ways, and it's not predictable. And I find a lot of older Star Trek, even good stuff like Deep Space Nine, and the best Next Gen episodes tend to be pretty predictable. And this you don't know where it's going next. It's really creative. It's really crazy. Characters die all the time.
Oh, my.
All the time.
Oh, like The Walking Dead.
Yeah. It's definitely Lost or Walking Dead meets Star Trek. And there's lots of crazy secrets that get revealed and people who aren't who you think they are. And it's very exciting. And I don't know why people, the finale kind of stank. The last 10 minutes were bad, I would say, for this season, which is never good. But just the way that they resolve the scenario for the season was not very good. But there's so many high points that I'm okay with maybe the ending not being as good as it should have been.
Was there a Q in it?
No, but it definitely leaves the door open for a Q to come back. And there's so many weird callbacks and stuff. And inside jokes that aren't obvious, but they're really funny if you know what they're talking about. And it actually had a shot in the last episode of zooming down to a city on Kronos, the Klingon homeworld, and you actually see what it's like to be living on a planet in Star Trek, which you never see.
No, and I'm very interested.
You see neon signs. Who knew that Klingons like neon signs, and they had street food and various different types of aliens living there. And I thought it was really cool. Highly recommend it. The new Klingon designs are kind of weird and ugly, but they're the same ones that are from the J.J. Abrams movies as well.
Yeah. Did this one have are there albino Klingons in this one?
There is, yes,
they're white and black, right? Like literal black.
There is one Klingon. Well, they're more like green, I think. But there's
Are
one,
they?
yeah, browny green. But there is one who has no skin pigmentation. That's his, and he's cast out. He's considered an outcast because of that.
Interesting.
So that is my review of Star Trek Discovery. Matthew, how did you level up?
I want to talk to you guys about something, and it is called home decor. So, last week, I don't believe I mentioned this on the show. No, I'm sure I didn't. I edited it today. Last week, I got a new couch for my fancy living room.
Oh.
And it is nice brown leather, and it's a big old sectional couch. Mm-hmm. So since I had new furniture, I decided to do some rearranging to make things fit. And in the process, I have rearranged basically the entire house, which is pretty neat, actually. I kind of like it now. It was a little more bachelor pad before, and it's a little more homey now.
Where did you get your couch?
From a friend.
What does it smell like?
Dog.
What dog?
Right now it smells like Febreze.
Oh.
And I did set up for my children a little playroom area with a little nook with a TV and a little Super NES, and they love it, and it's really cool to see them kind of, play around. And anyway, it's been really neat, and it's kind of funny watching them sit there with their little wired controllers playing, Super Nintendo and whatever games. And anyway, I guess that's it for me. Rearranging your house, highly recommended.
Yay!
Yay!
That's it for our Level Up segment, guys. And next up, we have the most popular segment on the show, I assume.
Don't say that. The other segments are going to get upset.
Yeah, it's the longest, though. So if it's not the most popular, then what are people listening to us for?
Oh,
just the squarely against?
Just squarely against. They just fast
sit
forward,
through.
hit that times 2 button, make us go real fast like a chipmunk.
Well, you know what sucks about that is that all of our advertisers don't pay us when people do that.
Oh, I had no idea.
Before we talk about the quest log, I'd like to talk to you about ZipRecruiter.
If you need somebody to fix your zipper, recruit ZipRecruiter.
Mm-hmm. ZipRecruiter. If you want a cruder zipper, that swears a lot. Makes jokes about genitals. I recommend ZipRecruiter. Mm-hmm. All right. Quest log.
All right, guys. I needed to start off with something really important now that we're in the quest log. Last week I had not caught up with where we were supposed to be, so I kind of bailed and then bail out, but I didn't have a lot to add at the end of the conversation. Mm-hmm. This week I am all caught up where I need to be.
Oh, good.
And I want to say that after having met Rika in that little anime cutscene,
I would call it manga.
Excuse me. And you're right. I actually, in listening to the part 1 today when I was editing, remembered that you called it, or heard you call it, a manga cutscene, and you're right, and that's really interesting. That makes this, to me, a little more unique than a lot of other stuff. All right, anyway, in that first manga cutscene where you meet Rika, hey, she's gross, guys.
What?
Those ears are gross.
Oh.
Her little kitty ears?
They are not kitty ears. They are flesh-colored ears. Like, they match her flesh-colored ears. And they have, like, black tips. And I want to throw up.
So you're upset because they took human flesh and stretched it into a long conical ear and then
I assume it's rotting at the tip.
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, I just assume that's rot. I'm kind of grossed out with myself right now.
I think that she's supposed to be cute.
Yeah, she's supposed to be a cute kitty girl.
I find the sprite, the world, sprite is cute. But the close-up sprite where you can see her horrible, mangled ears.
And her nice pink Bonnie Tyler hair that I quite like. Although, Vanessa, now that we get Rika out on the map, what do you think of her blue half cape?
It's aight.
It's very strange because it looks like it has something like bars that sort of project it out wide. Like it's not just...
Oh, I thought it was just like very sturdy kind of shoulder pads that she has going on. And then she hung her little cape to that.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, that sounds very like, is this a 90s game?
Oh, yes.
Yeah? What was the year again? Is it 96?
I think it's 94. Or I think it was 94.
That sounds real 90s anime manga, to be honest. Giant, long shoulder pads with a little cape hanging off of the back.
She does not wear pants, but she wears very high boots to try to make up for it.
The game was released in Japan in 93 and North America in 95.
Where do you think she got her fashion sense from? She has lived with a computer her whole life.
And she is wearing like a one-piece leather suit. Like a sort of like a bathing suit, but made out of what looks like leather.
Did the computer make it for her, or did she make it herself?
Maybe. It's very similar. The computer says that it's based her design on an original genetic being created in 1,000 years ago, who's Nay from Phantasy Star 2, who also wore a very similar one, but was purple. Her suit was purple.
So, or there's another option, which is that she is wearing that dead woman's clothes.
And dyed it?
Yeah, well, maybe the purple faded out. It's been 1,000 years.
That's true. That's true.
All right, well, that's creepy and weird. So, you emerge from Birth Valley, guys. We are headed off to, I love this name. So you've passed through Birth Valley and I believe come up to the north. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes. And now they've decided, where we need to go next is Zio's Fort.
Yes.
I got a real kick out of that name.
I feel like fortress would have been a better term.
Yeah.
Instead
Probably
of just Zio's Fort.
Yeah. Probably something to do with the translation and not having enough space. But like I said, I am here for that nonsense.
It sounds like Zio has just kind of taken the pillows off the couch and strung a sheet over the top of them. And that is Zio's Fort.
I would love that. Maybe he's got several let's just say like a large section of land that's just one giant pillow fort with people all kind of living there, and maybe Donald Glover and Chevy Chase are there, Joel McHale. And, yeah.
I guess we'll have to see when we get to Zio's Fort.
So you emerge from the northern entrance or exit of Birth Valley, and you have a kind of a new area to explore.
Yeah,
now, where you're going is to the north and the west, and there is where you will find Zio's Fort. This was, if you remember from last episode, listeners, the town of, is it Mile or Millet?
I say Mile.
Mile. The town of Mile, town of Mile to the north of which was a giant patch of quicksand. So, now we do have a couple of things to do, some side quest stuff, which is going to be fun to talk about, but I just wanted to establish where we're going and what we're doing. Now, at this point, we need to rescue Demi, a android.
Yeah.
Then we need to procure a, what do they call it? A rover? A land rover?
We don't need to do that until things get complicated later, because the place we need to go is in the basement of that fort. Where she's being held.
You're right. Okay. Wait. She's in the basement of Zio's Fort?
She's in the peak, the pinnacle of Zio's Fort. And the Nurvus is actually in the basement. That's what she tells you.
Yeah. Well, I think that Seed laid out for us what we needed to do, which was go rescue is she an android?
Yeah.
I think?
Yeah, she's an android.
She's a robot.
The android Demi from Zio's Fort, which will lead us to get a Land Rover, which we need to cross some sand.
No, that's not, no.
Is it too early for all that?
Well, no, it's just the place you don't need the Land Rover until after you find out that you can't get to Nurvus because it's blocked by a force field.
Yeah.
Seed doesn't tell you that.
No. Demi tells you that.
Okay. Well, then we'll get there when we get there.
Yeah.
There's an interesting thing about this section, the area north of Birth Valley, in that there's some side quest areas. And, John, is the Hunters Guild town? Yes. Is that Aido?
Yeah, Aido. Yeah.
So, the first place after you leave Birth Valley that you run into is Aido. And this is the town where the Hunters Guild is, where Chaz and Alice.
Nope. The first place you run into is Nalia, the town that's been wiped out by a meteorite.
Well, maybe you go a different way, John. Maybe you don't pay enough attention and you end up halfway across the continent and then you come back and do things, John.
Oh.
Jesus.
Okay. I see.
I have a question at this stage, and the question is going to be answered in this episode. And I asked the question last time, but I wanted to point this out. At this point in the game, it still feels like Alice is the protagonist. She leads the party.
Yep.
She banters, but she and Chaz banter back and forth to the point that it's not really clear who is the perspective that we're seeing things from.
Yeah.
And I wonder if and this is why I'm asking that. I wonder if the fact that she starts off as the leader of the party, literally you spend a good chunk of this game with her leading your party, you would have to go in and physically change it so that she would not lead the party, correct?
Yeah. I changed it so Gris did because he gets attacked more and he has a higher defense.
Do you think that was like a subtle jab at the idea that this game had to have this kind of bland, terribly named protagonist, but maybe the developers were like, yeah, but we're going to put Alice at the front and make you change it if you don't want her to be the lead?
I thought the default one was Chaz in the lead anyways.
No, it's Alice. It's always been Alice for me, and I didn't change it until well after that. Now, I will say, this all kind of falls to pieces when we get to the end of this episode.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. Maybe put a pin in that thought, and we'll revisit that.
Well, that's why I wanted to bring it up. All right, so we'll do Nalia.
Poor Nalia. You see a lot of devastated towns in this game. This one is maybe the second worst, because I think that the town that got totally obliterated by Zeo probably took it the worst, but this one got half obliterated by a falling meteorite, and everyone was upset.
It just squished them real good.
Uh-huh.
It was as the game said, it was an artificial satellite.
Well,
I guess you could have a natural satellite like the moon.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point.
It's true.
All right, so off to Nalia. This town just got destroyed by this meteorite, and there's some great stuff here where some of the villagers are just super pissed off that their homes got destroyed, but others were spared in the destruction of this destruction caused by this meteorite.
That's a recurring theme in this game, too, because when you get to Monson later, there's a very similar thing of some houses got destroyed by the earthquake and some didn't. And in this one, some houses got wiped out by the blast of the meteorite and some didn't. And like you have kids that aren't allowed to play with each other because the parents are angry. That's in Nalia, right?
You know, I have kind of stopped talking to the townspeople. I kind of decided that they didn't have much to say. And also, I never seem to find anything interesting in towns, really, so.
I find stuff. But yeah, there's just lots of weird details you find out, like family relationships. Like, a lot of people know people in other towns, but, there's a eloped couple you meet and the parents that are really mad at them. There's this one town which has the two kids that are really good friends, but the parents won't let them play with each other because the one family's house got destroyed. There's lots of cute little stories. Yeah. And
is that a cute story? That's pretty sad.
Yeah, it's true.
You see the same kind of thing in like tornado victims, where a tornado will go down one side of the street and leave the other side alone.
Yeah. In this town too, they're saying no one will actually go near the meteorite because it's scary and they think it's like haunted with ghosts or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, and I was kind of shocked. So I, of course, and I imagine you guys did too. The first thing I did after learning all of this was go straight to this meteor to see what was what.
Yeah, I wanted to see the ghost. I wasn't as scared because they already told me it was a ghost. So I wasn't going to be fooled.
You're so courageous.
Oh, thank you.
I was not 100% certain that this was a side quest or a main quest, so I just kind of went with it.
You'll find a lot of dungeons in this game are optional, which I like.
Really?
Yeah.
I have thoughts about a lot of things, but we'll get to that towards the end.
Okay.
About the way this game is kind of built. It's very interesting. Very good. Very interesting.
Oh.
The meteorite turns out to be a chunk of a city-sized spaceship, and it is one of the escape pods from Palma?
Yeah, or Parma. Okay, the bad translation says that the planet's name was Parma, but it was Palma.
Parma,
Okay,
like
all right.
Parmesan cheese.
Yes.
So the meteorite turns out to be a chunk of a city-sized spaceship. This was one of the spaceships that were used as escape pods from Parma, or Palma,
Yeah.
depending on the translation.
Yep.
The planet that we discussed last week that was destroyed.
By a satellite.
All of the humans are dead. Now, are these... I got the impression that these spaceship escape pod things were part of what was controlling the weather on making things, or the terraforming.
No, that
Doing
was
some of the
like
terraforming.
Mother Brain. This had nothing. It wasn't connected to any systems on
Okay.
Motavia.
Okay. But all the humans died, and of course its orbit decayed, and it crashed. Kaboom! Right into this poor town.
Yeah.
But there are others that have survived, so we will find out more about that. John.
Like I said last time, Phantasy Star 3 seems like it's a fantasy game, like not taking place with technology at all, but you slowly get the high-tech stuff creeping in, and eventually you realize the planets that you're visiting are they're all like these biomes on a spaceship. And this is one of those spaceships. So you know that at least one of them succeeded because Phantasy Star 3 is taking place at the same time as this game. And it's on the same kind of ship.
Oh, okay. I did not know that, and that is super interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's pretty cool that you find out the fantasy worlds you're visiting are all on one spaceship. That's sort of the big secret. You find out actually maybe by the first third of Phantasy Star 3.
Oh.
There is a little side note quickly. There is a book by Orson Scott Card that is very similar to that. I think it's called Serpent something. The book itself, not great, but similar idea. Young man, fantasy society, and then finds out these huge walls are keeping apart different pods for the same reason.
Okay.
And it was pretty interesting.
I wonder if they might have read
Unfortunately, he's kind of a piece of shit.
that. Yeah, sometimes you can still enjoy stuff, even if the writer's a bit jerky.
I mean, listen, I can't. Ender's Game's probably my favorite book. I can't I can't. What do you want me to do? Anyway, all right. So, artificial satellite.
Artificial satellite. Oh, I do one thing about that side dungeon there is I
meteorite.
love the first one of the first monsters you encounter are these Wren. They're called Warren androids, and these are the lowest skill ones. You'll meet more later, and they are referenced as 286 models, which I thought was real fun because the later ones you meet are 386 and 486, which is like upgraded processors from the era. Like 286s came out in 1980s, and then you had 386s in the early 90s, and then mid 90s had 486s. It just made me smile.
That's very interesting.
It's
that's cute.
Cute thing.
Something
And the music,
for the fans.
the music is amazing.
Yes,
that
I remember
dungeon.
this too as standing out for being fun.
Yeah.
Give us a little piece of it, John.
All right, I'll drop it right here.
Bangkok,
That's not what I
Oriental
meant.
City, but the city don't sleep, but the city don't burn. No, I'm not as good as you are, John. I really need to work on my Bangkok.
All right. So after that, we run into another city, and this is Aido. Now, Aido is where the Hunters Guild is located, and I believe where Alice and Chaz live.
Together in a house.
Yeah, they have a house.
Yes. Really makes you start questioning this relationship.
They have separate rooms,
because
though.
sometimes they act like mother and son, and I find it creepy.
Well, you find out a bit more about how they met at the end of this episode, too.
Okay. All right.
We'll talk about that when we get there. But yeah, they have
We
separate
will.
rooms, and they are an employer and employee, and he's now a full-fledged hunter. but he was her
All right.
trainee for a long time.
Now, a lot of things happen in this area, but I'm just going to jump into my favorite thing, and then you guys can kind of comment on your own favorite thing.
Okay.
Dancing Girls guy. So you go into the Hunters Guild, and if you go through the bar, wherein the bartender will ask you for if you want your usual, and you have to tell him, or you tell him, nah, not right now. Through the bar to the back of the Hunters Guild, where there is a burlesque show.
Oh, yeah, there sure was. For
Dancing
no
Girls
reason.
Room.
No
I mean,
reason.
I got a
I
good
did like that
chuckle out
there's
of
just
it.
one guy in there watching the show.
Oh, and he's not just, you'll notice he is crouching, looking up their panties, looking up their skirts.
Yes.
No.
Yeah, there is a animation there.
Mm-hmm. And if you talk to him when they're performing, he goes, yeah.
Just a little closer.
But if you circle over to the left side, upper left side of the room, there's a somewhat hidden door. And you can actually go through the ladies' dressing room like a fucking creep would do. Like a creep that
But you
nobody
can
would
keep
ever elect
going
to be president
there.
of a country.
You can keep
Sorry,
going
hot
through
takes.
that and then talk to the Hunters Guild lady, and she's like, what are you doing back here? And you can go through her files, and she gets mad. If you keep going left from there, there's some secret bonus treasure.
Oh, I missed all of this. It did not even occur to me to try to go into the dressing room.
The one thing I will note about the dancing girls is when they get on stage, they are dressed like Opa Opa from Phantasy Zone, a Sega arcade shooter from 1985, and the music that plays is from the first stage of Phantasy Zone, which is amazing.
Aido is really pretty.
And it's big. There's lots of stuff to do.
It is very large, and there are multiple shops. The first ones you run into are garbage shops that sell nothing.
I like that, though. That not
Yeah.
every shop should have all the newest equipment. This one just has everything.
But if you talk to the townspeople, they'll be like, yeah, that shop sucks.
Yeah.
Oh, really? I didn't catch that. That's fun. I just really like how colorful and pretty this area is, and it really got me thinking about the fact that I kind of grew up on Genesis, and I think I like Genesis style graphics better than SNES.
I like the SNES a little better, looks wise, but I love there's so many just like unique animations for this town, like people carrying groceries and people doing chores and stuff, that they took so much time to make this game, and it looks fantastic. There's so much cute animation. There's a fortune teller. Did you guys talk to the fortune teller?
Yes.
Yes.
She starts reading Alice's fortune for free, and then it's like, you know what? Actually, I don't feel like, I don't feel like doing your fortune today. Sorry. Gotta go.
Yeah, rude.
That seems to be ominous.
I think she's just lazy.
And you also find out that Alice has been doing nice things for people around town, including cooking for an old lady.
She's very popular.
And that one guy keeps calling her the 8-stroke, was it 8-stroke warrior?
The 8-stroke warrior is her nickname, as discussed last time.
Yep.
Yeah, as discussed last time.
And she hates it.
Yeah, of course she hates it.
Yeah.
He's talking about wanking off to her.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Oh,
No.
Yeah. What kind of strokes do you think they're talking about?
I thought
Sword strokes?
Sword strokes.
She's a hunter?
Yeah.
She doesn't carry a sword.
Oh, yeah.
She
That's
has a
an excellent
boomerang.
point. Oh, no.
Well, I can see why she's offended then.
As I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of fun stuff in Aido, and I don't think we've gotten to a lot of it. John.
There's a secret cake shop, which I found.
What? A secret
go
cake shop?
Yeah, if you go around the edges of the map, instead of going inside, you can find a cake shop. And you'll find, like, secret buildings in a lot of towns if you don't go inside. You sort of walk around the edge with, like,
cake
bonuses.
shop.
And this is a reference to Phantasy Star 1, where you had to get a cake for a guy by going to this dungeon that's super hard. And then the cake shop's at the bottom of the dungeon. They're like, yeah, sorry, we know this location's kind of inconvenient. It's really silly. And that's what this is all about, too.
That is really funny. I did not catch that one.
Did you do the hunting mission here?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. So if you go to the Hunters Guild and talk to the front desk, they will tell you about the one quest that you can get right now. Mm-hmm. And it is back in the town of Mile. The Sandworm farm that we mentioned last episode has gone crazy.
This is a shocking twist of events, and I never saw it coming.
And according to... Now, you know what? I'm going to let John do that. So I don't know how you guys handled this, but I just kind of insta-teleported back over to Mile and ran in and killed this thing.
Yeah,
what
that's
are you
what I did
talking
too.
about? Insta-teleported? You can insta-teleport?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, if you use a telepipe, you can go to any town you visited.
Like a Mario? Use a telepipe?
Yeah, or you can use the spell that Chaz has, Ryuka, that does the same thing. He also has a spell, Highness, that will get you out of any dungeon.
What?
Yes, and those are super helpful and kind of tie into something that I need to remember to bring up later, which is how fucking slick this game is and how incredible the design is in a lot of aspects.
Yeah. So this fight is actually pretty hard. You have to use buffs and debuffs and actually figure out what the best attack for each person is. It's the hardest fight so far, and what I found is that the Sandworm looks very uncircumcised, and you have to give it a bris. If we make fun of vaginas, we can make fun of penises. That's all I'm saying.
Nobody suggested otherwise.
Vaginas.
Birth Valley.
Well, when we get to Labia's Tower later, we can talk about that.
Right, I forgot about that. Yeah, so there's a big wiggly sand dick.
There's a big wiggly sand dick. I jumped up 2 levels killing this thing, but unfortunately Chaz died, and I didn't have anything to revive him with, so everybody jumped 2 levels but Chaz. Still 2 levels for one fight. That's crazy.
The same thing pretty much happened to me with the next, the big boss fight next, too. You have to, the guide I'm using says, if one of your one of these following characters is dead, reset the game because you want them to get the experience. But, I'm using a guide this time because I played it through without a guide last time. And this time I get to know all the cool combination spells. So I'm happy.
It would be useful to be using a guide because I still don't know what half these things do.
They do not tell you what the spells do in this game.
I often try to use a skill and it seems as if nothing happens, so I never use it again. But it turns out some of them are only good against robots and some of them are only good against other kind of thing.
Speaking of the way this game tells you nothing, I did manage to find a PDF copy of the original game manual. I uploaded it in PDF format to our Facebook group for anybody that wants to check it out. And it is surprisingly helpful. There's a map in the back that actually makes sense of things for you and really helped me out when I was getting kind of confused here.
Yep. The bros is one of the only spells or techniques, I guess, skills. No, is it technique? It's a technique that Grizz has, and it seems to do nothing. And it's it only works against robots, but it doesn't always work against robots. However, it will sometimes kill all the enemies on screen. It's basically like that Megiddo spell from Persona that kills everything. Sometimes it's just like that. Sometimes it kills everything, sometimes it doesn't. And it only works against robots. And Alice gets us a skill called Death that's very similar.
Alice also gets, I found for her at this point, a laser boomerang, which I thought was fucking cool.
Yeah. There's some cool laser swords and laser weapons in the that you can find around here. So you kill Sandworm, go back, get the reward, and move on.
She doesn't give you any more quests, which I was kind of bummed about. I was ready to go on a real tear.
Oh, there's one more quest you can get as soon as you get the Land Rover.
Okay, I'll go back and check for that. Yeah. So after Aida, I believe. Yes, Aido. After Aido, there is a cave, a small cave just to the north that you kind of have to get through some trees to get at. Guys, am I bad at video games? I could not figure out how to get into this thing. You have to go to the side and walk in through the trees that way. Stupid. So this is the point in the game where you start to run into humanish enemies, right? You start fighting bandits and...
Yeah. I think they are followers of Zio. So these followers of Zio start attacking you. At first it's just spearmen.
Yes, first it's just spearmen, but then you start getting, I think they have kind of wizard guys.
And the wizard guys are useful because they show you what the different spells do.
Or you can read the manual.
Yeah.
I kind of like the fact that you have to use the manual for this. It's annoying, and it shouldn't be the case, but it's old school.
It's something that I'm glad that modern games have. They now have help texts that will tell you what every spell does, so you don't have to try and figure it out.
But it's fun that you have, it's classic. It feels old school.
It's nostalgia.
All right. So let's just jump ahead here. You head through this cave, and on the other side is a town called Kaderi. I like to call this Zeo Town.
Oh, yeah. This town is great.
Tell me about it. Why are you such a fan?
Vanessa, do you want to talk about the town?
About the town, what, have the people who's super into Zio?
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Cadbury.
I liked it very much. It's full of people who,
That's right.
when you walk in, they kind of talk about how Zio is great, and they're all about this Zio guy, just like me. I also think Zio is great because someone called him a black magician, and I was like, well, that seems pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Are you going to fall on the ground and writhe around in ecstasy like
Matt,
that one dude?
You just cut off my favorite part. I was just getting to it. Oh, I am gutted. I am gutted that Matt has taken from me the pleasure of telling you about the guy you walk up to. He's just standing there like a normal fellow. And you say hello. And he falls to the ground and sort of does that thing where you kind of run along with your feet and lie on your side and pivot in place. And he shouts, Zio, 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 Zio.
In my mind, that maneuver is associated with the sound of...
Yes, that is what he's doing. You can head into the temple, and people in there are, again, all about Zio. They just think he's great. And why shouldn't they? He's probably done something for them. I don't know what it is. But they're all for it.
His name is Zio, and he dances on the sand. He's got a tower, and it's looking pretty grand.
There's a section where you cross a bridge, and it switches to side-scrolling instead of the top-down view. Was that a dig at Chrono Trigger? It's in the tower.
We haven't got to the tower yet.
We're in the tower. We're in the town.
Yeah.
I have this SNES controller, and for some, mine's kind of busted. So sometimes when you hit down, it'll hit it twice for you. So I occasionally accidentally escape from battles.
Oh.
It's funny though, because when it happens, you're kind of like, oh, all right, neat. I don't have to fight that battle now.
Anything else about this town?
Did you guys run into the prostitute?
I didn't run into a prostitute.
What? Oh, it's because you don't know about the sneaky walking around the side thing.
No, I didn't see any kind of sex worker whatsoever. And the term is sex worker. Thank you very much.
Well, if you walk around the side of this village, there is a warehouse where you get a laser boomerang for Alice, which is great. It's her last big weapon upgrade. And there is a brothel with a player piano music.
Well, last weapon upgrade?
Sad face. Sad face. But this brothel has great music. It's like player piano music. And they're like, oh, wow, you're bringing a lady in here? Oh, that's progressive.
Aw. That's fun.
And you go upstairs, and this lady talks to Chaz, and she's like, oh, you're a little young for one of my customers.
Oh.
And Alice is like, let's get out of here.
Oh, my.
Gross.
Uh-huh. So there is a brothel.
Well, I'm not sure what to do with that information.
Well, it's an RPG. They have to randomly have brothels every time, even though they always do, though. Why?
I guess it's true. Even Mass Effect, basically.
Dragon Age.
So after you, let's just say, obtain the services of the prostitute.
You don't.
You head off to, you don't know that. You make your choices, I make mine, John.
There's no dialogue tree.
Hey, you don't know.
I kind of do.
I'm playing a hack version of this game.
Oh, no.
All right, so we've explored the town, and at the very northern end of this town is a ginormous temple.
It's just got followers of Zio in there, and that's it.
Vanessa, did you walk around and talk to each and every one of them to share the good news of how much you like Zio?
Mm-hmm. And
Zio?
I basked in their love, and they basked in mine. It was a very fulfilling experience.
There's someone in the town, too, who's like, do you follow the teachings of Zio? And Vanessa's like, sure do.
Mm-hmm. And they said that Zio is basically gonna kill up the whole world with his killing stick, and the faithful would be saved. And I'm like, sweet, I'm faithful.
So then we finally go to Zio's tower.
Yeah, and it's a tower.
It's got some, like, pits what you can fall in and get secret treasure.
Yeah, secret treasure's the best. I didn't realize those were pits. This graphics here are a little confusing.
Yeah, I thought it was just sort of a shadow across the screen, and then I fell into it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I do like these dungeons. They're not linear, which is great. There's a lot of stuff to collect in each of them. Often I'm finding just like, next tier weapons and stuff, which is always super fun. What do you guys think of the dungeons in this game so far?
I think that the random encounters are a little bit too frequent. Sometimes you can take just like 1 or 2 steps and it'll be all up in your face with another random encounter. And that's a bit much.
I haven't really experienced that.
Oh, I totally have. Like in
Weird.
The next dungeon, the Labia Tower, that was it was just nonstop random encounters for me.
Yeah, it don't quit. And I think that the design aesthetically gets a little samey as you continue through the game, particularly anywhere that's a computer type place has the same kind of computer type place vibe to it.
Yeah.
I do love the enemy designs in this game. Like, again, to talk about the graphics, they're great looking.
I don't like those little blobby slugs that then collect into a giant slug if you don't kill them fast enough. Those guys are jerks.
Those are the xenophages or whatever.
Yep.
I'll tell you what I love. My favorite so far has been a, robot centaur with a laser sword. He's fucking great.
Those guys
I just want to know
rad.
that thing's story. I want to hang out. I want to write it.
There's these Shadow Saber guys that at this point in the game are really tough. They they cast a defense spell on themselves, which only makes them vulnerable to magic.
Now, at this point, I was maybe a little underleveled, and this is where I really started thinking about, once again, I keep saying this today, I'm sorry that I keep repeating it like this, but this game is so slick. I mentioned the teleport spells. They make these dungeons actually feel fun to me. Like, every trip into the dungeon is an excursion for me to learn the correct way to go, to beef my characters up and find more treasure to help me, move forward. And it's easy to teleport back and then just run the dungeon again versus something like a Final Fantasy where, at least early on in my experience, you're just kind of stuck in that dungeon.
Yeah.
Unless you want to walk back out. And that's a huge pain in the ass. But this one makes it's just quality of life improvements like this to the classic JRPG formula really make this game stand out.
I have an unfortunate admission here.
Yes.
It's ripped off from Dragon Quest. All that quality of life stuff is totally taken from Dragon Quest.
Oh.
We should play more Dragon Quest games then, because I love this, and the Final Fantasy series needs to get on fucking board.
This game is basically sci-fi Dragon Quest. In the way it's structured and a lot of the way the items work and stuff. Okay, so we go up this tower and fight lots of things, and then this dude is at the top, and he's like, you want to get by? You gotta go through me. My name is Jiza, and I'm gonna kill you.
John, I did go through him, and fairly easily.
Yeah, he wasn't super tricky. I think he wasn't as hard as Sandworm.
Sandworm took a lot more time, for sure.
And so, I kind of pushed him to the side and said, out of my way, old man. Out of my way, old man.
I said, excuse me, sir.
And at the very tippy top is Demi. And she's like, looks like she's chained to the wall with like organic ropes. They look like weird blobby ropes.
I guess you couldn't chain a robot with robotic ropes because she would hack it.
Ooh, I like it. I like it. And yeah, Demi is a short little robot. I love Demi.
Demi is short. I didn't really notice until we switched to one of the side views where occasionally if you walk across a bridge, you'll see your party's respective heights, and she is teeny tiny.
And you don't really see that kind of height difference in video games, especially not at this era.
No, not really. I appreciate it, though.
And it's super cute.
Yeah, that's why she calls Demi, because she only half.
Aww. So Demi is right as you're cutting it down, though, your boyfriend appears.
Zio?
Uh-huh.
Oh.
He's like, hey, guys. And you like have a nice chat with him. And Zio's like, so, like, you know, I'm sort of planning on destroying the world. And, like, I'm going to work with my boss who, like, really wants to destroy the world. And Alice is like, yeah, but won't you get destroyed too?
He talks about God a lot. He's like really religious.
Yeah.
That's kind of the worst, isn't it? Come on, guy. I don't need to hear about it.
He's like, my God is so great. He's going to destroy the world.
Vanessa, sometimes people just want to see the world burn.
People should get a hobby. People should take up knitting or something.
Try podcasting. It's fun.
So he says that his boss is telling him to blow up everybody, even him, if that's what it takes. And then he's like, all right, enough chit chat. Let's fight. And I didn't do well in this fight.
Nor did I. I lost lickety split.
At first, you just can't do any damage.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just makes a joke of you, and it's a real bummer. We're talking about Zio now, right? Okay. And he you know, he'd do bad to you.
He summons this, like, weird... It looks like Mr. X / the Nemesis from Resident Evil head behind him. That thing is bad news. And that thing, he then uses that thing to channel something called Blackwave at Chaz. Unfortunately, Alice is like, I'm going to jump in front of that because I like Chaz.
No, you don't even like him that much. And come on.
She sees him as a little brother.
Ugh.
And she gets hit in the tum-tum with his black wave. And then everyone's like, all right, let's get outies. And they like emergency cast away from there.
And now she spraggers.
Oh, what?
That's what happens, right? You get hit in the tum-tum with a black wave and then you have a child.
I hope not. That sounds awful.
Yeah, I know, right?
Why would anyone agree to that?
I guess money from what I've read on the internet.
Alice takes the hit, and then you return her to, I believe, Aido. Is that right?
Krupp, Han's hometown.
Ah, that's right. You're right. We return her to Krupp, and Alice is gone. She is no longer in the party.
She's recuperating in bed.
Han is taking care of her because he's a doctor, I guess. He has some doctor training.
Since when is he a doctor? He's like a professor of history or something.
Why do we need him to take care of her? We went to a new town. They don't have a doctor in town?
I guess not.
No, it's just like Han and his girlfriend hanging out.
Yep.
Yeah, because Krupp isn't really convenient. They took her quite a ways away.
He's a student. She's a school teacher. These people should not be taking care of somebody that's hurt.
She could barely talk, but she says you need to find Rune because he will be able to open the force field that's blocking the door to the basement, which is where Nurvus is.
I'm not sure that we actually mentioned that in the Zio's tower, Zio's fort in the tower, there's a door that you can't pass. There's an energy force field. So you end up going up the tower instead of down where you, I believe, originally tried to go, or you just kind of happen to see it and
you just
go
see
past
it. On the
it.
way. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So there's a door we can't get through.
And that is going to the computer base. The tower is built on top of this computer base, and that's where Nurvus is. And we need to get there, but there's a field, and the only thing that can disable it is magic, and the only person who knows magic is Rune.
now we have a new android buddy, and she is part of the party. She replaces Alice, basically.
Yeah, and Han, because she can heal herself with recovery, or she has a couple of charges of a heal the whole party thing, which also revives them from the dead, which is more its main use.
Mm-hmm. Which is very useful.
Yes.
Rika has built up a small stable of healing spells as well, so that's really handy.
I think by this point, Rika had Guy Res for me, which is really useful.
So Demi replaced Alice, and now we have to go find Rune to replace Han. We can only win this game if we have 5 party members.
Chaz suggests that shutting down Nurvus might save Alice, and then Demi's like, nope, it really has nothing to do with what happened to her.
Yeah, that doesn't seem like it has anything to do with what happened to her.
Look, there's no bad ideas in brainstorming, Matthew.
All right.
He's grasping at straws.
But again, he is pretending to be a doctor when he is just a student, and now he's talking about, like, what is going to save her. I don't trust this guy.
Unfortunately, Rune is far away. He's in a tower past the quicksand, and they can't get past quicksand.
And that means it's time for...
a car.
Yay!
Land Rover! This is where you get the Land Rover, and it is pretty cool.
I really like it.
Yep, it's great.
Tell me all about it. Vanessa, what Land Rover do?
What Land Rover do be sort of a tank. You go to its garage, and the robot is like, beep, boop, beep, boop. Let me just power up this car for you. I thought it was going to be a dungeon, but it was just a garage, and the car is just in there. And then you get in your car, and it scoot along. And what really surprised me, because I was thinking, oh, now I have a car. It's like a chocobo or whatnot. But no, a monster attack your car. And you have to use your car cannon to defend yourself.
It's got this rad music, and it looks super cool. There's like a million screens, and you can choose spread cannons or like a concentrated cannon as well.
And it's got like special moves that like attack the whole field. It's really great.
How do you repair does it repair automatically after each fight?
It does. I never needed to repair it mid-fight.
Okay, good.
No, nor I.
So I don't even know if that's possible.
It does have hit points.
Yes, it does. But they do reset every time.
Okay, cool.
I don't think you get quite as much experience points using your car as you would walking along.
And you get barely any money. But it's probably not a bad way to grind.
No, and it's fun.
It looks cool. Yeah, it's different.
Yeah, it is. It mixes things up a little bit, and I appreciated that.
So at this point, we have to go to Monson, and is this the town on the other side of the quicksand?
Yeah.
Okay, so you have to have the Land Rover to cross the quicksand on the world map to go to the town of Monson. And this town is plagued by earthquakes. Now, John, it looks like you did some side quest stuff here. I did not. Can you tell me about this, please?
Well, you talk to one person and they say, they tell you about the earthquakes, and then there is an earthquake, and Grizz freaks out because he does not like earthquakes, and they all laugh at him. And then they say that there's a plate system nearby, which is like a control center, and the whole town crowds around you and asks you to fix the earthquake.
And Chaz tries to get out of it. He's like, actually, no, but they won't leave him alone until he says yes.
Yeah. And you don't have to. You can just keep going. But if you do go to that plate control center, it's just a few levels. There is a new attack you can find for Demi and some armor for Demi. And that's about it. You just go up to the top and you turn off the tectonic controls, and everything's super.
I liked finding the armor for Demi. You throw up in this chest, and Chaz is like, it's just some gears and shit. And Demi is like, no, this is a useful upgrade for me. And he's like, ugh. And then she asks him to turn around. Yeah. And he's like, why? But then takes the hint and does it. And she, I guess, opens up her chest and stick some gears and knobs in there, and then she is a bigger, better robot.
Yeah. And that's what gives you the Phenomenizer attack. And that one, if you combine Phenomenizer with Air Slash, which is one of Chaz's multi-hit abilities, it does a super, like the strongest attack by far in the game so far. It does 300 and something damage per thing it hits. And it swipes all the enemies.
How do you combine powers? Do you just do them in a row together?
You set up a macro and then do them. First you do Demi Phenomenizer, and then you do Chaz Airblade, and then just everyone else just attacks. And if you use that macro, it'll do that attack. It's pretty cool.
Oh.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Chaz and her don't have many charges of this ability yet, so you can only use it like once, which is the downside. Yeah. But it is hyper powerful. So that's it for that side quest. There's also a really short little Hunter's Guild quest you can get to now, Tinkerbell's dog. Did you see that fat dog in Krupp?
Yeah.
That fat dog is from Aido. You can talk to that family there, and they are missing their dog, and he is very fat, and he likes cake. And so you go to that cake shop I was telling you about before, buy a cake after you get the quest. You go to the Krupp, and the dog's gone. And the guy's like, yeah, the dog went north. And so then you have to go find the dog, who I believe is in Monson.
What is Monson?
That's the town with the
we
earthquakes.
just talked about.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and people are like, boy, this dog is fat. And you talk to the dog, and you give him a cake, and he loves it, and you can pick him up, and you can take him back to the owner. And then you find out why the dog ran away, because the dog is just being chased by a little girl. And the dog does not like it. Poor dog. So that's Tinkerbell's dog.
I had a similar thing happen to me today. I was walking home, and this cat started following me, and I was concerned for the cat, so I looked at it, and it had a tag on it that said its name was Miles, but also that it was an outdoor cat. And I was like, well, if it's an outdoor cat, I best be leaving it outdoors and not calling up its people to bother them about their cat being outside, because that's clearly where they want it to be, right? So I went home, and Miles tried to come inside, and I said, you are not invited. And I shut the door, and he was out in the cold, all alone. And then he jumped up on my window ledge, which is quite a feat, because you have to get up on the porch first, and looked in the window, and my two cats were very interested in what was happening. And my stupid cat, Jack, looked at the other cat and was like, are you in here or are you outside? Because he could not comprehend there being a third cat in the world. But after confirming that the other cat was inside, he went up on the window ledge, and Miles tried to kill him through the glass. Miles started yelling and hissing and batting at the glass, and Jack just looked at him like, what is you? Why, what you do? And then eventually the other cat came up, and she managed to scare Miles away. That's what happened to me. It was just like the quest in this game.
That should have been your level up today.
What? My level up was amazing.
It's true.
And all of the Rawless Sparza fans who listen are going to be so jealous.
So next you head to a small village named Termi.
Termi is a tourist trap. Tourist?
They are as obsessed with this girl like Alice as Zeo Town is with Zeo.
There's a statue of her and her cat Meow, who is a magical cat from Phantasy Star 1.
So this is not our Alice?
No, this is Alice from Phantasy Star 1, who became Queen of Palma.
Oh, no. The evil one that murdered the king. Gotcha.
Yeah. He was evil.
And,
you're taking the king's side just because of what you know about him, which is that he was a king?
He was a man.
Yeah. He was a man. John, I'm not sure about the psychic energy thing. What is that about?
Yeah, what is that about?
You talk to one of the guys at the armor shop there, and he's like, hey, this mage came around and showed me how to imbue my feelings into the armor to make it super powerful against magic. And so that's what I made. So you have all this psychic armor. And there's also another shop that just sells useless trinkets that are souvenirs about Alice.
Oh, okay. I do remember this.
I bought every one of those trinkets, and they are in my inventory right now.
You have a very small inventory in this game.
I know. And I have 4 useless trinkets.
Yep.
But surely there's a use for them.
I'm sure. I don't think there is.
So next we're off to Labia Tower.
No.
No?
That can't be
It's
true.
just north of the Birth Valley.
It can't be true that there is a tower in this game called Labia Tower.
Oh, that's a typo. I think it's Ladia Tower.
Oh, is it Ladia?
Yeah.
Ladies! There's a lot of treasure in here, and good news.
Yeah,
There's
there
a lot
is.
of treasure in Labia Tower.
Good news. Our friend Rune is already all over that Labia Tower.
He's deep in there.
Yes.
But Grandfather Dorn is not.
Who is Grandfather Dorn?
I don't know what the fuck he's talking about either.
It's
I think
Grizz's
he made this up.
grandfather. Rune and him went to go find that wand.
Oh, that's right. Where is
Yes.
Grandfather Dorn?
He ain't there.
Rune does tell us that the reason he's at Labia Tower, and I'm not sure if we knew this before now, he is searching for the wand of touching people on the butt inappropriately. I can't remember the name of the wand, guys.
Psycho wand.
Psycho wand. Yep, that's a name for a
There's
thing.
a wand in Labia Tower.
Labia Tower. So finally at the very
inside.
top of the tower, you run into a wand. Is this a psycho wand?
Yes, but before that, I just want to say there's a frayed cape you can find that fits on Rune, and this cape is an ancient treasure from Phantasy Star 1 that Noah gets when Noah defeats his mentor, and so it's just a callback.
Why is it afraid?
It's frayed as in Frayed, and because it's a scared.
Is it afraid of Noah?
It has social anxiety. Yeah.
What a jerk. But before you can take off with this sweet wand, an evil bug shows up. Was he a
Yep.
bug? What was
Yeah. It's just like a bug, and it's like, it's me, a bug.
You're never gonna get past me.
And then Rune makes fun of Chaz some more, and Chaz is like, ugh, I was gonna kill it already. God. I love their relationship. And you kill it.
Because it's just a bug.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's just a bug.
It was not as hard as the Sandworm again.
Not at all.
No. Well, I also didn't jump 2 levels from killing it.
Yep. I jumped at least one. I think everyone at least went up 1 level.
Now, this bug does tell you that he's here on Zio's orders to get this wand.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So he's a real Zio jerk. All right. So, wand obtained. Everybody feels a little funky about it.
Yep.
And now it's time to go back and see our totes healed up and feeling great and ready to rejoin the party friend.
Yay.
Alice.
And she's
Yeah.
fine. Nothing bad happened to her.
Just lazing around on the couch eating chicken noodle soup and ice cream.
She feels better. She's happy to see her friend Rune.
Oh, Rune, I'm doing fine. I'm super not dead.
Uh-oh.
Well, she isn't when you
No.
get there.
She will be soon. So this really answers my question of who is the protagonist of the game because, ladies and gentlemen, Alice dies.
And Matthew called it last episode.
He sure did.
That's how the mentor always has to die, and I want to point this out. I don't want to call this my squarely against, but I did want to say that one of the big problems thus far with this game is that despite the interesting environments and despite a lot of amazing quality of life choices, it still seems like thus far, at least, it's got a pretty cliched kind of hero's journey narrative.
Yep.
So of course the mentor had to die.
No, but she's amazing. So she dies. What were her last words to Chad about? Or is Chaz? I feel like he's a Chad.
I don't know. She was probably like, Chaz, you have to defeat Zio, and I'm proud of you, and I know we had a rare relationship because we slept together like that one time, but we tried to get past that because we were such good friends, and we said that we just work better as friends. But, I gotta tell you, I really regret not just going in that whole hog, but I guess it's too late now.
I don't agree with that one. She was totally in it for Rune. She had the hots for Rune.
She did have the hots for Rune.
Yeah. She says her last words to Chaz and says she was proud of him and then dies.
And then we get to see her funeral. This was a manga cutscene, correct?
Yeah.
You,
It was pretty. Good
it
music,
was pretty.
too.
Everybody's real sad.
Yeah, they're very sad. Afterwards, what is it, Demi who comes to comfort him, or is it the cat?
I think it's Cat Lady.
Rika comes to comfort Chaz,
Yes.
and I assume this is a translation issue because Rika comes over and she's like, I used to be inside, but now I see the trees and the sky. And Chaz is like, you're right. Thank you.
And he talks about how he used to be a real Aladdin doing bad things until Alice came to meet him and took him under her wing as a mentor. And he became less of an Aladdin and more of a productive person.
He stopped staying one jump ahead of the bread line, and he joined that bread line and got his bread the legal way.
And he was like, yeah, so she helped me earn a paycheck, and that really changed my life. And now I don't know what to do. And then Rune's like, well, I think she was in it for more than just a paycheck. She was in it to make the world better. And he's like,
She
what?
was certainly not, because she shook down poor Han for everything he had. She took all his money.
That's not what he needed to hear right now. Rune was giving him a pep talk.
Rune's going to be like, Chaz, think of all those professors you can fleece out there. She wouldn't want those professors to go unfleeced.
It's true. It is totally true.
So now it's off to Nurvus, and, well, that's it, right?
That's it. Yeah.
That's
we
it.
can now
Game
get
over.
Nervous.
Questions. Will Chaz bang the creepy Newman Rika? Or
No.
is he more of an android-loving type of guy?
Oh.
Or maybe this relationship that he has with Rune isn't quite so antagonistic as it seems. Maybe it's a love-hate relationship.
Well, see, I think that would be perfect because they both lost this woman who was really important to them, and perhaps they can find comfort with each other.
What about poor Grizz?
What about
Grizz
him?
is a non-entity in this game.
Grizz
Does
is
he
an
have more than
owl.
like one line?
He
What
had
is
his
the
whole
point of Grizz?
He didn't like earthquakes.
They just wanted a Chewbacca.
Well, that is a fascinating personality trait. Doesn't like earthquakes, but
Well, before we dive into our next segment, which is Squarely Against, John, can you tell us where we will be playing to next week?
Next time, we will get to Jut and reach Gumbius Temple.
Gumby?
Gumbiest, the Gumbiest Temple, Pokey.
Pokey, hi Gumby. Why am I a horse and why's my name Pokey? And I don't understand this world we live in.
Great improv.
tune in next week for the same high-quality content.
Tune in next week for the second part of the Gumby and Pokey Comedy Hour Season 2 serial final episode finale. All right, let's move on to the next segment, and that is... John, did you have any minigames to discuss?
No.
No bullshit minigame corner?
This game does not have minigames.
Yeah.
You wouldn't consider driving the dirt bike to be a minigame. It's not a bike, it's a tank.
It's a tank.
It doesn't feel all that different from your normal, means of transportation other than...
Yeah, it's just a different, window dressing on your combat and some different abilities.
That's cool.
It's cool, and I like it, but I don't think there's any bullshit minigames in this game.
All right.
Fair enough.
I don't believe we'll be rating any hunks or babes on this episode. Let's just jump right into Squarely Against. Jonathan.
All right. I am squarely against Alice dying because she's really cool and she would have made a better hero for this game.
I agree.
You get Chad. You have to stick with Chad.
Chaz.
Matthew, what are you squarely against?
I'm going to be roundly. Maybe I brought it up too much this episode, but I will just quickly say it. I am, again, roundly for the amazing quality of life improvements. Maybe they've been, as John said, present in other games. Maybe they ripped this off from somewhere, but it's the first time I've played a game like this, and I just genuinely feel like it is a slick refinement of the JRPG systems of the time. Some of it doesn't quite hold up particularly. The menus are super slick, but also like kind of just wonky. It's just kind of, they were working with what they had. Anyway, so yeah, that is what I am roundly for. And finally, Vanessa?
Well, I guess I'm squarely against dancing girls. I mean, I say that. I just, as I have mentioned, saw a show today starring my number one celebrity crush, Raul Esparza, but it also had a chorus, and some of them were women, and some of them did dance, and they danced very well. However, I am tired of seeing dancing girls in video games. I am tired of dancing Asari. I am tired of dancing Pixel Girls. I am tired of...
What was the dancer in KOTOR?
What's her name?
Oh, no, Mission was not a dancer, but there were other
No, there
Twi'lek.
was the...
there was the
dancing Twi'lek, and
right.
you had to dance with her, which at least gave her a little bit more to do than just dance. Like, she had kind of a purpose and added something to the game. But, yeah, and if you are going to put in dancing girls, which... let's face it, they are. Just put in some dancing boys, too. That's all I ask. Mm-hmm. Just,
Well, there were those big, sweaty muscle hunters.
No.
They were hunting muscles? Now, were they hunting, like, muscles like they're, like, driven to become large bodybuilder men?
Yeah.
Or were they hunting muscles like the food?
Well, if you talk to them, they're like, out of my way. Oh, sorry, Alice. Can I?
Wait,
do
mussels live in freshwater or seawater?
Both.
Sorry, Jim. Sorry, John.
I'm sorry too, Jim. I'm sorry you're not here.
Yeah,
sorry, Jim.
All right, guys, that's it for Squarely Against.
Yes, guys.
Yes, guys. As John previously said, next week we'll be playing through
getting to Gumbiest Temple.
Gumbiest Temple.
The Gumbiest Temple in the game.
All right, guys, before we sign out, let's just say, please send us an email. You know our email address. It's squarerootspodcast@gmail.com. And if you absolutely cannot be bothered to send an email, please come see us at our Facebook group, the Square Roots Podcast, for smart, cool, very attractive people. And of course,
like
you can tweet us at Square Roots Pod. Our theme song for the series is by Sharp Rain Music. Check out their YouTube for tons of awesome video game covers, links, etc. in the show notes. John.
Please rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes where you listen to podcasts. And if you screenshot a review and post it on the Facebook group or Twitter, I'll tell you how you leveled up.
Okay, hey, Micro Machines Man, can you get the fuck out of here? Where's John?
Please rate, review,
okay, I changed my mind.
And subscribe.
No. It's a real tortoise in the hare situation going on over here.
Wherever you listen to podcasts, if you screenshot your review and post it on the Facebook group or Twitter, I'll tell you how you leveled up. All right. I think that's it. I think we're done.
That really helped. I like, can you just keep talking, please? I'm so close to sleep.
For Square Roots, my name is John Anthony Brandon.
I'm Matthew Van Zant.
Night, night, sweet princes and princesses. Bye.
Bye. We miss you, Jim. Yep. You might be a redneck. here's your sign.
Nope,
Tater
that's a
salad.
joke from last week's Flophouse.
Oh.
Oh.
That's what we do on this podcast. We repeat jokes from more popular shows. But we give it our own twist.
John.
All right. So in Phantasy Star 3, I talked about a little bit about this last episode. Oh, geez. Never mind, Vanessa.
Get a yawner.
Jeez.
Jesus, Vanessa, what the
We've been
fuck?
recording in the mornings, and now we're recording at night. And I like to be sleeps at night.
I have
I know, me too.
Okay.
This is where I went on a, all right, guys, as usual, without getting into a lot of details, I was very not sober when I was playing through the end of this game. In fact, and this is just kind of a side note for you guys, I just spent a Saturday night playing Phantasy Star, and it was really pleasant. Kids had a sleepover last night, and I was just Phantasy Star. It was nice.
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing. I am not going to read this, but this is the point in the evening when I sat down and started writing, like I did a couple of episodes again in my little notebook. This one was a side note all about politics.
Oh.
Nothing, it's very tame. I will say that. Very tame.
Do you want to read it and we can put it after the credits?
God, it's so long though. It's 4 pages. I think historically, societies, economies, governments, etc., naturally swing in a pendulum, left and right. Not necessarily left and right political parties, but left and right. Kind of boom and bust cycles. And we should be in a boom cycle right now. We were for a long period in a boom cycle, but in the 80s, the conservatives came in and started cutting. And in a way, this is good. It, unfortunately, due to the type of racist white privilege that we still experience today, these type of cuts tended to harm a lot of minorities. So there's definitely a negative to this. But my point is that I believe there's a natural process. But the current problem that we have, the conservatives got their way in the Reagan era, but maybe it was time to trim the fat. Honestly, that happens. You cut and spend. So the pendulum swung naturally to cuts, to spending less and distributing money elsewhere. But due to greed and self-interest, the pendulum that we're using as our metaphor swung too far. It swung too far to the right, and that is what has gotten us here. It's time for the pendulum to swing back. We should be in a boom period, but again, due to the greed, self-interest, and corruption, there are genuinely rich and powerful forces trying to freeze the pendulum in place or push it farther away, despite the damage that that's doing to us all. I could stop this at any time. I know it's long. Those forces are brainwashing whole swaths of our people to act against the pendulum, their self-interest, the natural order. You can see the damage it's doing. Hatred and madness reign supreme. And here's the funny thing, from my perspective, our parents were right. TV, cell phones, and the internet were dangerous. They warped minds, just like they said it would. At least in my household, I constantly heard about how television was going to warp my mind. Does that sound familiar to you two?
Not really.
Yeah, sure.
But, this is really fun, guys, but it really warped them. Underlined exclamation point.
Bangkok, Oriental setting. The city don't know what the city is getting. Come of the chess world. And
I think we grew up, our generation, grew up on it.
The chess boys, isn't it? All change. You don't know when you play at this level. There's no ordinary venue.
Iceland,
what's wrong, Matt?
The Philippines, Hastings, or this place.
One night in Bangkok and the
right.
world's
Keep going, Matt.
oyster. The bars are temple.
Vanessa, let's let Matt finish. It's his segment.
Okay.
We grew up on it. We are affected by it, the digital society, in many ways. But it really did warp society. Maybe considerably more than any other time in human history. But our parents, they thought they knew better. And they were so worried about what this era was doing, these technologies were doing to us, they couldn't see what it was doing to them. But there actually is some good news in all this. We live in one of the most progressive societies in the history of the world, and our government, despite what those aforementioned rich and powerful sources have done to twist it against us, is still in the hands of the people, and we can turn the tide. And in our struggle to rebuild what our parents tore down in the swing of the pendulum, the natural, I believe, order, we have the opportunity and the responsibility to build a more free and equal society. That's my
Boom.
rant.
All right.
It's too long. Yeah, I gotta cut that.
I'll figure it out.
All right, back to our regularly scheduled Phantasy Star programming is what I wrote in my notes.
This grips me more than would a muddy old river or a reclining Buddha.
Wait a minute.